Welcome to First Use, and in today's episode I'm going to focus on Collingwood. Now, I've covered this defensive structure before, but I really want to highlight this again because of their 50-point victory over Hawthorn. It was just impressive to watch. Halfway through the second quarter, Collingwood were only up by 4 points, and then to win by 50 was just unbelievable. And what they did is they got their V shape. So their V shape defensive structure in place, and they were able to suffocate Hawthorn's ball movement across the whole field, particularly from half-back line. So let's get into the clips and I'll show you how they were able to do this very successfully. So today I'm going to start with the actual ground, and I'm just going to paint you a little bit of a picture and give you a bit of an idea and a description of how they set up this defensive structure. It's really impressive. So the cross, the cross will be the man on the mark. The circle is Hawthorn. What it is, it's called depth perception. So it's normally clubs, when they set up a defensive side, it's sometimes like this, in a line like that. That's how and then they do it again down the next line. What Collingwood do, and I'll just clear this up, so that's Hawthorn, that's the man on the mark for Collingwood. They have one there, one there, one there, and then they'll have one here, one here. They tend to not suffocate the boundary line too much, but what they're trying to do, it's called depth perception. So in line with the kicker, like that, in line with the kicker, like that. And then these next clips, I'll show you how they set that up. I just wanted to give you a bit of an illustration of how they actually get organised and the ability to make sure that they suffocate the opposition. So this is really early in the game, and Barras takes a mark. And you just watch the shift, the defence of Collingwood. So takes the ball and then kicks. Now you already see 1, 2, 3. So this depth perception already, but because Barras plays on really quick, they're not able to set up. So he switched across. And then once you go to the aerial view, you already see them shifting. And what they're doing is they're actually looking for one another. So look at that line already. That line of players. So there's the kicker. When you're out in space, like in this position here, you have to be, pretty much you have to go man on man. But if you look at the depth perception, so the depth perception is the ability to go over the layers, is to kick over the layers. So in this situation, this is exactly what they do, Hawthorn here. But you can see already that there's the line of players already forming. You need to go one-on-one here, which they do. Then you need to go one-on-one. So down the field, it's more one-on-one. It's more in the zone of where the kicker is. So one-on-one down the field, and as I've spoken before, this is almost the third layer. It's the second layer that they try and cover off and try and get this V-shaped defence in place. So now they're starting to look at covering. So here's the depth perception there. Right, so it's that kick to try and get into that position. So they come back, and it's a hand pass. So then they square it in. Now, in review, Collingwood would need to close that gap. So that was a little bit of that's where they try and get you. But you watch in the next clip, this is where they end up getting it. So they're still pushing, still holding. Here, this player now is moving into this position. I think that's Darcy, to get that depth perception. That's what they're trying to achieve. There it is there. There's that depth perception. So you feel like you can take the short, but you have a person close. You feel like you can take the long, but you have another player here. So it's really well set up. Then that player takes off, intercept mark, and that's my check. That's a forward. So the way this works, you have to have the half forwards and the forwards push up. That's why when Collingwood goes into their forward line, they are so open. It's because their forwards push up. Hence the reason why Elliott, you kick 5, Bobby Hill kicks goals, because it's their ability to push up. So Meek wins the intercept mark on the half forward line, and you'll see he tries to play on, but you can see 1, 2, 3. So from where the guy is on the mark, they try and get this depth perception. They're not really worried about here. They're not really worried about the boundary. But certainly through the corridor, that's what they're trying to set up. So he plays on with the hands. Nowhere to go. So look at that depth perception. They're already in place. Suffocated. And here, and even though because that's a one-on-one, it's still the depth perception. So there's the V to the kicker. And it makes it even harder when you play on, because once you play on, obviously, you've got to get going. You've got to make decisions a lot quicker. But you need support from behind you, and they just weren't able to connect that, Hawthorn. That just played in the hands of Collingwood. So now he has to go back, has to retreat. But see how they're sort of just creeping a little bit? So the previous play, they got the intercept mark. He's kicked it long, and this player was able to come off and get the intercept. So it creates a little bit of fear now. So uncertain of what to do. Uncertain. Still, look at this. 1, 2, 3. So it's that depth perception. And then what does he do? Kicks it long. Intercept mark. So it's a really good set. I just love this strategy. I love this defensive side. I first saw it against Brisbane early in the year, and no one's been able to break it. No other teams have been able to get through this defensive structure. Connor Nash gets it on the wing, and you see the players are folding in here. Depth perception. So he's looking this way. There's a player right there. So if he's to look down the middle, like this, 1, 2. If he looks this way, the player there. So they cover that depth perception. Down the line, it's one-on-one. So that's that third layer. But that second layer is where they try and suffocate you, to force you to kick it down the line. So he's looking, look at that. So there's your depth perception. So that was out of the screen, but look at that. Because he looked that way, all he could see was those numbers. Now, when he looks this way, there's that depth perception. It's awesome. Only option is to kick it down the line. Got the ball back. Point kick-ins is where they really get you. So Sicily's having a look. But just watch this structure in place. My check's already pointing. Bobby Hill's in place. There. They've already got this line set up. And then you go on the other side. 1, 2, 3. I'll do that again because that was a pretty bad line. There's his eyes. There. 1, 2, 3. So it's not a straight line like most clubs do. Watching Sydney and Adelaide last night, Adelaide set up like this. So it's a totally different setup to any other club at the moment. And I love this too, because what Hawthorn like to do, so you see a lot of numbers here. And this is about doing your homework. What they've done a lot is if I draw a line down the middle of the goal square, when Sicily stands on here and all the numbers are on this side, they like to go out and then kick down here. Watch Jaff here. Watch him go. Right, so what they're trying to do is they're trying to get this space over here. He goes. But look at the defense of Collingwood. They're onto it. Bang. Got him already. Understanding and doing your homework on the opposition. Very important. So, Sicily, that's out. That one's now across. can't go there. Hemmed in here, yeah, you could take that, but they give you that. But still, they have this depth perception, line of sight to the kicker set up. All Sicily can do is kick it down the line. Impey's got it here. It's once again, it was just on repeat. The ability to actually get the line going. So in this situation, really good play here. They come up, they press. They don't want the switch. Right, so they've got the 1, 2 depth perception. So they've got that in place. And they don't tend to do it. And the reason why they don't do the depth perception, so as I explained to you, the depth perception is like a V. Right, so you might ask, why don't they do it over in this area here, straight line? It's because of the man on the mark. No, not over kicking lanes, because that guy needs to kick it with height. Whereas when most clubs like to kick it short and direct, that's what they're trying to cut off. So Impey's got it. So then this guy has to push up to cover this guy moving. So this is how they work in synergy. And then you'll see when I think it's Schultz pushes here, he's looking back. You see how he's looking back? He's looking back because he's hoping, and look, side bottom's even pointing, we need a player in this position. Because Elliott's come out of that space and Schultz is now folded down, they need another player. And then there he is. And there's your depth perception. It's really a great setup. And it's all synergy. So there's Schultz looking back because he knows that Elliott's folded down here to stop the switch. And then there's side bottom pointing, hey, we need that third layer. So then they do the switch, which is really close. Bit of a risk. And now they have to shift. So they get side bottoms closing in the space. They're trying to still get that line. So here they close the gap. Depth perception. There it is. There's that long one. And then Elliott has to go. So really good unrewarded running. And then they take that kick, which is a risky kick. That's what Hawthorn does. But there's that depth perception again. Still got it in place. And then he decides to play on. 1, 2, 3. There's your depth perception again. Keep repeating myself, but showing you how they're quick to organise and how they're quick to get into their spots. And then they force a kick. And Elliott ends up holding the ball, and then 50-metre penalty goal. It's just brilliant. Just how they squash you, how they give you no options. And when you think about it, when you've got the ball, you've only got 10 seconds to make a decision. So you look left, see a line, look right, see a line, panic, I got to kick it down the line. Or I got to try and vent something, which Hawthorn does here, and they make a mistake. So Weddle's got it here and just kicks it in short. So then they're happy with that. And now watch, I think it's Schultz comes into play here, just on the right of screen. So they don't give you that, they're not really fussed about that, because if you close that gap, you're giving up space. They don't want to do that. So you can see a lot of the players are turning their heads. But watch Schultz, comes into position, and look how he stands. It's like a guard. It's like a guard in basketball. I'm just staying here. That's my line of vision. That's where I need to be. Pointing. Who's behind here? Myercheck closing the gap here. So there's no switch of play. It's like a guard. Just standing there. This is his depth perception. It's just awesome. So they hold. Schultz is just holding. Looking around. Right here. He's looking around, making sure that I'm in my line. I'm in the line of the vision of the kicker. And then 1, 2, 3. So there's your line of depth perception. And then all Battle can do is kick it down the line. And they get a turnover. So there it is. It's just a really... I could go on. There was so many other clips I could show you in relation to how they set up their defence, particularly on the half-back line. But as soon as you get the ball and and you have to go back off the mark, that's where they really set up. There's only really one play that I can show you where Hawthorn was able to dissect that, and I'll show you that now. So Nick Dacos has got it here. That's where he had his one contested possession that everyone's talking about, and he kicks it. So this is really early in the game. So he kicks it down the line. Barras sets himself and take. That's what he's really good at. That's his strength. But the reason why they are able to get away and get to the other end and get through this V-shaped defensive structure of Collingwood was you played on. You've got to go quick, because once you set yourself, that's when they get you. You've got to get them on. So in general play, this is how you get past them. So Impey goes and plays on. Great lead from Chol. But it's Ginnivan. I think Ginnivan's here. So you've got to, and this is what Hawthorn's really good at, and they'll do their homework for the next time if they get the chance to play them. And Ginnivan just takes off. So they've got the runners. Right? So you've got to play on quick. You can't allow it to be stopped. The previous videos I showed you, they went back off the mark, Hawthorn, and that's where they come into play with their V structure set up. Chol gets it, plays on, and there's Ginnivan, great kick. So it's off the line. So it's a really good kick. So there wasn't too many of those clips I could find. So I hope that gets you a little bit of an insight into how they're setting up this defensive structure. It's really, really awesome. The depth perception, the ability of getting in line of the vision. So it doesn't matter that they use the kicker, and sometimes they use the man on the mark as their reference point. But you can see with that clip with Schultz, just stands there, looks around, waiting for someone to come at the back. I'm in my line of vision to the kicker, and then they have the next layer as well. It's just a really well-drilled setup. A lot of homework's gone into doing that. A lot of training's gone into do that. But as I've spoken before, you have the layers. So when you're talking about defensive layers, you use it from where the kicker is, obviously. So the opposition who's got the mark, and then they use the reference based off where they're looking, but also where the man on the mark is. Then it's the next layer. Then it's the next layer. It's that depth perception. So down the line, so 50 metres plus, it's one-on-one. It's that second layer in between probably 20 to 40 metres where they're trying to get this V-shaped depth perception structure set up. Really well organised by Collingwood. I love the way they're setting that up, and that's why they're on top of the ladder, or close to the top of the ladder, and that's why they're playing really good footy, is because the ability to actually get this in place for their slingshot, a counter-attack with their forwards, and why they've got an open forward line.